evening, everybody. It's wonderful to see the numbers coming up. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm really excited to see you all here and have a chat with you tonight about nutrition for your running. We'll just give it a little minute while people are jumping on. I can see the numbers gradually bumping up as we go. Look, I've been very, very excited about tonight. I think a real opportunity to share a bit about nutrition for running and really give you some tools to get you started on just getting your nutrition sorted out properly. We're going to go through some really practical information, have a look at some athlete stories, and we're going to be going through all the aspects of things that you really need to think about to get you going on your journey through from getting your training nutrition sorted through to building your race plans and then getting that really amazing result at the goal race that you're working towards. So we might get started on the official presentation. So again, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me. And I'm going to share my screen now. Hopefully it'll all come up nicely. I've got my husband in the background there, just making sure that everything's working. So he might stick his head in and just let me know that we're all good. So I'm just going to start my slideshow. We'll go. All right, here we go. So I think that is all working pretty well. So yes, welcome to the Distance Runners Masterclass once again. Thanks for being here, and let's get going, guys. So first of all, who is this training for? I really hope all of you are very much qualified listeners out there. I'm sure you are if you've been sort of following the various places that this masterclass has been promoted. So really this training is for runners of all ages and abilities who really want to be full of energy, experience joy in their running, be their very best athletic self, and run further, faster, and really push their limits. If you're someone that doesn't care about performance, if you're not working towards race goals, if you don't mind being fatigued, injured, or ill, or if you're just not looking for longevity in your running, then perhaps this training might not be exactly what you're after, and you may want to switch off. So this is a big promise for you tonight, but I promise you by the end of this class, you'll have a deep understanding of how to turbocharge your athletic performance with nutrition strategies that fuel your immediate wins and set you up for a lifetime of running success. So shut off distractions, phones. Well, keep your computer on or your phone on if you're watching me via that, but yes, every notification on there, you can turn it off. TV, if you've got kids, see if you can kind of get them to leave you alone for a little while and really focus tonight. So the outline of what we're going to talk about this evening. So I'm going to talk about the one thing that I really want all of you to take away from tonight. If there's only one message, you take it all. We're going to talk about the top 3 mistakes that you need to avoid. I'm going to explain to you about the performance pyramid and the Distance Runners Performance Academy as well. If you stay on board tonight with me, I've got some free gifts for everyone that has joined this evening. As part of my program, I've got some bonus offers, including group athlete calls, heat adaptation, and various other heat management strategies, an online shopping tour, and also nutrition strategies for immunity and injury as well. So hold on till the end of the presentation, you'll get access to those. So first of all, who am I? So sorry, I'm just jumping around there. So a bit about me. Look, you may already have a little bit of information about who I am from what you've seen on Facebook and various other places. But really myself, I'm a dietitian. I've worked for 15 years across various settings, including sports dietetics with my private practice. I'm currently doing a Master's by Research, focusing on diet and running injuries in Master's age recreational runners. I also have been a clinical dietitian for many years in a hospital setting, and I've been involved with educating other dietitians and university students as well. In my personal life, I love running. I've been really lucky and blessed to be able to marry my profession and my hobby. I live in the Adelaide Hills with my husband and my little toddler, Ollie, who's 3. My husband has been vegan for the last 4 years or so, which was a good challenge for us as a family with a young child. But I really support him in his choices, and I'm really I'm glad that I've actually had the opportunity to live with someone who is doing that, because I think I really have a good understanding of, how to prepare different meals for vegan people and how to make sure it's nutritionally balanced. And yeah, it's really been a pleasure to go through that process. I also love my dog. Our dog is Piccolo. He's a little bit nuts, but he's a great little running buddy for us. And so in terms of my running performances, you can see some of those there. Look, I haven't done as much of those sort of events since I've had my little boy, but I certainly am hoping to get back to some of the longer events soon. In terms of my qualifications, so I am an accredited sports dietitian and accredited dietitian and nutritionist as well. As I mentioned before, I'm currently doing a Masters by Research with the University of South Australia. I've got some experience through the Joanna Briggs Clinical Fellowship and also Practice Education Certificate, which is around helping to teach other dietitians. And then my basic qualifications, my Bachelor of Nutrition and Dietetics and Bachelor of Science. All right, the one thing that I would really love for everybody to take away from this evening, if there is only one thing you take from tonight, is that you need to fuel for the work required. So when we're thinking about the fuel in endurance sports, we really are mostly focusing on carbohydrates. And it is something that I see time and time again where athletes do not incorporate this concept into their training and or their racing. You've got to put the petrol in the tank when you need it. I see too many runners that are going out doing fasted training, that are going out for long runs and they're not fueling while they're doing it, or they might just say for the last hour, I don't need to fuel for this because I'm nearly done. It doesn't make sense to not put the petrol in the tank and expect your car or your body to perform and then just wait until you get home and then put the petrol in afterwards. So you really need to make sure you are fueling for the work that you are going to do. So what does this really mean? So it's about consuming the right type of carbs. So having an understanding of the different sources of carbohydrates that we can get from different foods, the different types of sugars that they provide, consumed at the right times as well. So, that might be individual for every single person. Some people don't tolerate large amounts of fuel shortly before running, so they may need to give themselves a little bit more time. But yeah, really important that you trial that in training and get to know yourself and what does work for you. If you can get this right, this will help you to run strong to the finish line. So this will stop that horrible feeling where you just see yourself, this power's just petering out and you're just getting slower and slower and slower, and it's just awful. And I mean, I've done this to myself plenty of times before. And, through learning about nutrition, I now really appreciate that if you do feel right, you don't have to feel like this. So it can help you go further. It can help you avoid fatigue. It can help to actually avoid gut issues. Some people think that avoiding fueling might actually help that, but it doesn't. And potentially also help avoid cramp and injury. So it really is worth getting your head around. And so spending some time on, understanding, your carbohydrate requirements and different ways you can achieve those through food and fluids is really, really important. So mistake number one, not eating enough. I feel like every dietitian that I work with, as my colleagues in sport, we are always talking about how we're, having to try and encourage our athletes to consume more. A lot of athletes just don't understand exactly how much their body requires. And when you're not consuming enough, there will be consequences if you continue to do this. So some of these consequences include just being tired. That might be in a session, but it might actually then roll on and just be all the time, day to day. It leaves you hungry. I often talk to those athletes that are, I'm hungry all the time, but, I probably shouldn't be eating all this food because what's that going to do to my weight? It's your body telling you something. You need that fuel. So that is certainly a big sign of underfueling. It does leave you at risk of illness and injury if you're not consuming enough. So what can happen with that continual underfueling or not eating enough is that, there's just not enough energy left for the body to do its basic functions. And so things like healing wounds or, rebuilding bone or rebuilding muscle, they all become impaired. And so that can increase our risk for injury. And our immune system also suffers when we're not eating enough as well. And so that puts us at more risk of getting sick. It leaves you cranky. I've definitely been an underfueled cranky runner many times before. I remember in my old job before I did sports dietetics and I ran and I didn't really have a good understanding of sports nutrition. Even as a dietitian, I was cranky all the time. If people asked me at work to do something, I had to stop myself from just snapping at them. So Really, really important, if you wanted to be a nice, calm, peaceful runner, as much as possible, that you're not under fueling. And yeah, you just can't perform at your best when you're not eating enough. So, how do you expect a racing car to go around a track without fuel? You don't see a racing car go into the pits and then half fill that tank. What a waste of time. They need that full tank to push as hard as they can. And you don't see, a semi-trailer that's going to drive from Adelaide to Melbourne, filling up half the tank, because they've got to get a long way. It just doesn't make sense. So you need to be making sure you really, really are putting enough fuel in and fueling for that work you want to do. All right, mistake number 2, failing to plan. It happens constantly. It will be athletes that, at the last minute, after spending months and months on their training, they're suddenly going, oh no, what am I going to eat and drink today? Okay, let's just throw in a few gels and maybe that bar, and just put a bit of sports drink in here, and I'll have a few things in drop bags, and I'll just go as I please, and I'll just see how I feel. It does lead to underfueling in general. It can lead to dehydration. Both of these things are obviously not going to be great in terms of your performance. Both of those things can make you feel very tired and cause gut issues. So, both underfueling and dehydration are quite stressful for the gut. And so if you're someone with gut issues, you need to learn how to fuel and hydrate appropriately. And sometimes that takes a bit of work around gut training, which, is something I do help a lot of my athletes with. It's really stressful when you haven't got a plan. So, one of the things that I find the athletes that I work with always say is that when we develop their race plans and they go out and then implement them, it just always amazes them how stress-free and easy it is to, get out there and have a great time during the race, because they know what they're meant to be doing. Their support crew knows what they're meant to be doing. So they can actually just focus on running and really performing at their very, very best. If you continue to fail to plan, you're not going to achieve your goals. And that's just a straight up result. As that little sign there says, a goal without a plan is just a dream. You're signing up for some pretty incredible events, the people that I work with, and it really is a shame when the lack of planning ends up meaning that you're not getting the result that you're really hoping for. Number 3, excessive focus on supplements and expensive sports nutrition products. Look, every sport has its particular supplements and products that it's known for. There are a lot that are associated with running. A lot of them, there probably are alternatives, and some of them may be completely unnecessary. So some of the issues around doing this is that it distracts you from good sports nutrition principles that are backed by research. So you can go out and buy $7 gels if you want to, but if you haven't got your training nutrition right, you've had all those months of training where you haven't got those benefits of, the wonderful training that you've done because you didn't fuel it appropriately. So you may have ended up injured or sick and then missed training time, and then you're not actually at your best when you get to the start line. Getting our carbohydrates, getting our proteins, getting our fats, getting our vitamins, minerals, etc. correct, they are all going to benefit your performance far more than that $7 gel or, some other supplement that, may be completely, not evidence-based whatsoever. If you aren't following good sports nutrition principles and you are much more supplement focused, there can be a risk of fatigue because you're underfueling, loss of muscle. Again, that can be from underfueling, or potentially, if you're not consuming enough protein, that might happen. And also nutrient deficiencies. So, people will cut out food groups, but then they'll try and replace it with some, vitamin supplement. Your body doesn't like that. It often means that we start getting deficiencies such as iron and other nutrients that are really important for runners. It's really confusing. So many people, when I speak to them during our first session, they've got bucket loads of supplements, and I always spend time working through them with them because I think it's really important that, we cull as much as we can, don't have them wasting money, don't have them, being distracted from, what they need to be doing. Stress, it's just another thing to add. So really important to get your head around, yes, there are some supplements that can work, but you've got to make sure you get those other things right first, and then really make sure that you've got some good guidance on supplement use if you're going to explore that avenue. Okay, so now that you know what not to do, let's talk about what you do need to do instead. So this is my performance pyramid. So step 1, this is a really, really critical step. Excuse me while I'm croaky a bit here, my voice. Getting your training, nutrition and hydration right is a really, really important foundation for you. So the benefits that you're going to get from this is you're going to go into your sessions fueled appropriately. So you're going to be going in with enough energy into the tank to push all through your hard sessions and your long sessions. Those easier sessions where perhaps, the performance isn't quite, you're not looking for that great performance, or you might just be getting time on legs, we make adjustments for that in terms of the nutrition that goes into that. We also make sure that your recovery nutrition is on point. And that doesn't mean just, I eat protein after every session. There's quite a lot more to it than that in terms of, making sure you're refueling, rehydrating, repairing, supporting your immune system, and, getting enough rest, and also looking after your gut function as well. And there are various strategies that we incorporate into that in your recovery. We're then looking at your overall day-to-day nutrients, making sure that you're getting enough nutrients to support your health, to manage any issues that you might have, like celiac disease or dietary preferences. Make sure you are getting adequate amounts of nutrients that are very critical for athletes, such as iron, vitamin D and calcium are the ones that I often find are lacking, also omega-3s. And so all of those things are really, really critical to help you get the most out of those training sessions so you can adapt to the sessions. The big focus of endurance training is we're trying to build more mitochondria, which are your little powerhouses in your cells that are really important for metabolism and really important for endurance. And if we're not giving it the right nutrition, we don't get as good a result. Also, another big focus is making sure we've got resilient tissues so that our bones and our tendons and our ligaments and our muscles are strong enough to cope with the demands of what we're putting them through. And, we need that stimulus for the training, but if we don't then put in the right nutrients around it, we're not actually going to get those benefits, and potentially we're going to end up with, injuries and problems. All right, step 2 is race nutrition and hydration. This is always a really fun part, involves looking at basically building every element of a really good race plan. So this takes time. We cannot do this in a week. There's a lot of practice that's required while you're working through this. It involves looking at understanding, what should I eat before my race? What should I drink before my race? What do I need to fuel with during my race? What's my target level of fueling? What can I eat and drink to achieve that? How am I going to train my gut to tolerate it? That's a really big thing that I find a lot of athletes don't do well. I have to say it, but I think, once a week in long runs is often not enough for people in terms of gut training. And so really, I think it's worthwhile getting your head around a good gut training plan, particularly if you're someone that has had gut issues in the past, which I know a lot of runners do experience. Also understanding your fluid needs. So this involves understanding your fluid losses initially, and then looking at how you're going to replace your fluid appropriately to avoid overhydrating or underhydrating. Carbohydrate loading is a really important part as well, and I really like carbohydrate loading talks. They're always fun. I think a lot of people are quite surprised when they realise how much they need to eat, and also the types of things they need to eat to achieve what they need in terms of carbohydrate. Logistics of managing the race as well. Sodium. In ultra endurance running or anything beyond 4 hours, we do need to have a bit of a think about what we're going to do with sodium. There are various ways that we can manage that. That process really should be taking several months to go through. You can't rush it if you've got a really important goal race. And it's really important that you understand every step that's happened, so that when you get to race day, if you need to adjust, which can happen because, let's face it, races aren't always predictable, you need to know how to do that. And actually, interestingly, I was just looking at a study today that talked about elite ultra runners and how many of them have these wonderful race plans and they don't always stick to them, particularly towards the end. But in general, they were actually meeting their nutrition and hydration targets. And I believe that is because they probably have developed a reasonable understanding of what their body requires and how to adjust their plan accordingly. So, going through that process, I think, is really, really important if you want a good, solid race plan that you can be confident with and that you can adapt on race day if you need to. Final step, the icing on the cake, is your supplements. So there are some supplements that can work. They may support training, they may support recovery, general health, and also what we call an ergogenic aid, which supports better performance. Most supplements might give you a 2 to 3% performance benefit. You're going to get a lot more from those other layers of the pyramid. So yeah, there's quite a lot to it. So let's talk about the training, nutrition, hydration first. So the things you need to consider when you're looking at this, first of all, your energy. So I've got my little pointer here. So energy, we need to consume a certain amount every day to fuel our body in terms of the exercise we're doing, but also to keep basic body functions happening nicely as well. It's really hard to predict energy requirements. I know people out there might be using watches, or they might be using calculations that they found on the internet. The gold standard is using a little bit like a VO2 max test, but at rest, which is something that I'm doing in my research, where we measure the carbon dioxide production and oxygen use to understand the calories burned at rest, and then multiply it by an activity factor to understand how much you might need during a whole day. And, you know, what I'm noticing through that experience is that people's energy requirements are often quite different to what we might have got from looking at various equations or from their watches. So it's important to get an understanding of your energy requirements, but also it's really important that you then start to monitor what you're consuming and how you're feeling, what's happening in terms of body weight, sleep, energy levels through the day, etc., to really understand if your energy target and what you're consuming is adequate for you or not. Big signs you're not on track is if you are starting to get really tired all the time, if you can't sleep, or you're just waking through the night, if you're having trouble with plateaus in performance, or you're even sliding backwards, if you're getting sick or injured all the time. So yeah, I think if you're starting to notice those things, have a check-in. And look, it's really common. So around about 75% of female athletes generally will be under fueling in some way, whether that be the whole day or just around training. And in male athletes, the numbers are not quite as well known, but certainly I would expect will be reasonably high in this group of athletes as well, with runners with a high training load. Protein. Protein is a critical nutrient for growth and repair and immunity. So we need this in recovery from sport, and we also need to have it ongoing throughout the day. And I find a lot of athletes do actually do pretty well in meeting their total protein targets, but the spread across the day is often not very good. And this means that we just miss those opportunities for continuing to repair our bodies. We will be adapting to sessions for up to 48 hours after we finish. And so we want to keep feeding little bits of protein to help support our body to recover properly. Protein is also very good for regulating appetite, which can be helpful for those that might be looking at body composition goals. And yeah, it does support your immune system as well. So getting enough protein is important too, and spreading it appropriately. Carbohydrates, I'm just going to jump to the other side of the circle now. So as I've mentioned, really critical nutrient for endurance performance. It is stored as muscle glycogen, which is what our muscles will then use to move when we exercise. With more intensity of exercise, we burn a higher percentage of carbohydrate. As the intensity drops down, we start to burn more percentage of fat. And, you know, really important that you understand how much do I need before, during, and after sport, and how much do I need day to day. How do I manipulate it based on my training schedule? So, you know, periodization of carbohydrate is a bit of a, you know, bad word or trendy word. It basically means that we're trying to fluctuate your carbohydrate around throughout the week to help to support the fueling requirements that you have for your various sessions, and also obviously your general functioning as well. If you're not consuming enough carbohydrates, a lot of the symptoms are similar to when you're just not having enough calories overall. And often I find that when people aren't eating enough calories, is often because they're not eating enough carbohydrates. So yeah, very, very important nutrient. Fat, big source of calories, really helpful in terms of meeting your calorie requirements, particularly with a high training load. Certain types of fat are really important for our health, particularly the omega-3s in terms of brain health, heart health, and fighting inflammation, potentially a role there in recovery. So yes, don't shy away from fat. I think sometimes there are, you know, some athletes that are very much all about low fat foods all the time, and we do need some fat in our diets, really, really important. Fiber can be your friend, can be your enemy, depending. So we do need fiber, you know, generally across a week. It's very important for supporting gut function. It can help to protect the gut lining, which can reduce the risk of toxins leaking through and creating inflammation. There's big links around gut health and mental health, which I think is something that's going to be a really big growing space and really, really fascinating. But sometimes fibre can be a bit of a problem around some times when you're exercising, particularly very long sessions or intense sessions. And so you might need to do some manipulation around fibre to manage that if you're particularly someone with gut problems. Fluid. So yes, you need to know your hydration needs for your target event and be able to plan then how you're going to get enough fluid on course. But also day to day, you need to be making sure you're taking in adequate fluid as well. And then your vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. And this really comes down to a good quality diet where you are getting a good balance of across all food groups. I find it very rarely happens when I first meet an athlete and they are achieving the target numbers of food groups. If anything, I would say that, runners should be meeting more than their targets because we have such high energy requirements. So, the ones that are generally the problem ones for most people would be fruit and vegetables. Dairy foods are quite often low, and breads and cereals. Most people do pretty well with their protein foods, as much as a lot of people are saying I'm not eating enough protein. Actually, a lot of people really are. But yeah, you've got to understand what your body's needs are and then how you're going to meet that through the different foods and drinks you choose throughout the day. So what can you do with all that information? So first of all, you need to start by understanding where you're at now. So you can keep a food diary. You might do that on paper. You might use an app. You can have a look at general guidelines to try and get a little bit of an understanding of, what your needs might be. And yeah, really just checking what you're doing so you can see, well, where are the areas that I might be lacking or that I might be having a bit more of than I need? And then how can I adjust it to make sure that I am a bit more on track? Planning and preparation is key. Look, I get it. I'm a recreational athlete. I have a toddler. I have, I'm studying. I'm doing this work. I love to run. A lot of my hours of the week are spent doing that as well. It's hard. It's really, really hard. There are nights sometimes we get home and there's no food organised and, it's baked beans on toast because that's what we could find, or we get takeaway. We don't always do it perfectly. That's okay. You've got to do the best you can, but you need to, as much as you can, try and be organised, particularly when you've got a heavy training schedule. Look, the time pressure's often on even more then. And that makes it even more important that you do, spend some time on the weekend doing some bulk cooking or go and get your groceries ordered online or that sort of thing. And also in your training, every run is an opportunity to practice, learn and adapt your nutrition. So, don't go out on your long runs fasted and not fueling every time. Get out there and practice what you want to do when you're racing. And, that goes for other sessions as well. So, things like interval sessions or your midweek long run, these are all opportunities to learn and adapt. And you really should be making the most of those opportunities if you've got a big goal in mind with racing. So this is one of my wonderful athletes, Kalia. Kalia is a ultra runner who I've worked with for a while now. And she, a bit like me, is a busy mum. I think she actually has 2 children. We spent lots and lots of time working on her training nutrition to help to support her as she's been building her training loads. So she was very much new to distance running when I first met her and wanted to work towards some ultra racing. And I think for her, getting her head around appropriate fueling and actually having the confidence to increase it was a big step towards her being able to then go on and do the races she wanted to do. We had times where she did start getting a bit tired, and so we'd do a little bit of a check-in and see what might have been going on. And there were times when her carbohydrate was a bit low, and so we increased and she felt better. As part of that, we've also had her have checks with her sports doctor to make sure that everything's looking good in terms of her bloods and other clinical signs. We've then gone on and done her race plans as well, and she's really done well. She's done some great races last year, and she's working to run Larapinta next year, which I'm really looking forward to supporting her in. All right, race nutrition, hydration. Carbs are king. So, look, there's always a few people out there that might be, disagreeing with this. I think, the high-fat, low-carb diets, so they're never going to go away. But time and time again, research shows that if you're looking for your best performance, you need to be consuming enough carbohydrates. We know that those who consume more carbohydrate will generally be faster and more likely to get a podium finish than those who don't. But you need to be able to tolerate it. And I think this is one of the big problems for people, is that they just don't train their gut enough to be able to cope with the fueling that they need for racing. When we do train appropriately, we can enhance transporters of glucose and fructose across our gut into our bloodstream, and then also enhance transporters of glucose into our muscle cells as well, so that that whole process of digestion and absorption is faster and easier. We can get more across, and also we've got more fuel available for those lovely mitochondria that we've been working on building out through our endurance training, so we can actually push harder for longer. In terms of the specific requirements, you can see here a little picture of the recommendations in terms of duration and amounts of carbs and, the types of carbs. It's really important that you understand what you need to eat and drink to achieve these levels, and particularly as you increase those higher into the ranges, you really need to have a good gut training plan in place that's going to support you to be able to tolerate that sort of level. It is something that I think, a lot of people will read these sort of guidelines and just go, I'll just do that on race day, and it just ends up being a disaster because they just aren't used to it. So, you need to get your head around that. And then hydration. So understanding your fluid losses to then understand your fluid needs. And from there, you can develop your personal fluid replacement plan. It's not as simple as going out for one run and, maybe testing and just discovering that you lost 500 mils an hour and then just drinking that same quantity for every single run forever after that. There's a much more to it than that. And every race will require different levels of hydration. And so, you really need to make sure that you know the target race you're working towards, and have some sessions where you can practice the hydration that you might need for that. This is Jackie. Jackie, wonderful athlete. She did Tarawera Mila for the first time this year. Jackie she loved to run. She didn't love to be organised. I always had so much fun with her. We always laughed about it in our sessions. But we did get to a point where, we'd done a lot of education and talked about things, but she still just wasn't quite getting there. So we had a bit of a, bit more of a, involved conversation in one session. And really, I said to Jackie, if you don't start doing this, you're not going to finish. And I think when I finally said that to her, it clicked. And off she went. And she started putting fuel in appropriately. She started taking things and planning things for her runs. She told me she went to the Cosi Ultra for Tarawera, so that was this time last year. And she just threw her things in her race bag the night before, and she didn't eat or drink for like the first few hours, and wondered then, she felt pretty bad. So I think that experience and that chat that we had kind of got her on board, and she started practicing things and really very quickly started to realise the difference that it made for her. We did her race plan for Tarawera Mila, and I know she really just loved, getting her room organised with all her stuff spread out that she had to take from her shopping list and things. And, we did have to adjust the plan on the fly a little bit as the course changed at the last minute. And we did that through a session online, and it was really great to see after we'd, gone and made her a very structured plan that unfortunately, when the race then came and we were told it was going to be a different course, because she'd gone through that process, she was actually able to adapt that plan to the new course and actually got a really great result. So she finished in 27 hours for her first miler, and she's really, really happy with that. And I think, it was a fantastic outcome for her and something that she can now take away for the rest of her running years. So, fantastic from Jackie. Jason, really great runner as well. Adelaide Marathon and Ultra Trail Australia were his two races that I assisted with him with. Jason has a really busy life. He has a physical job and also training for ultras. And I think for him, he just had no concept of exactly how much fuel he required. And so he was often, really run down and tired and, struggling to, get through his races successfully. And so, we did a lot of work around his day-to-day nutrition to try and get him on track so he could actually train a lot better and feel a lot better during the day. And that made a really, really big difference for him in terms of energy levels and being able to build up his training. But also we spent a lot of time sorting out his fueling and hydration for races as well. Cramps were a big concern of his, and I think a lot of that was related to underfueling, as well as not getting his hydration and sodium correct. So we did do some work around all of those things. And yeah, he got a really great result at Adelaide Marathon. I think this time was 2:45 maybe. And also Ultra Trail Australia was his first 100k ultra that he completed. And he did that in 15 hours and was really stoked with that result. So yeah, wonderful outcome for him too. All right, supplements. So supplements you can stop now if you are taking these. All right, so firstly, branched chain amino acids. So these are a handful of different types of the 9 essential amino acids we need to build tissues that we can get from diet. So we find these branched chain amino acids very widely in the diet, in animal foods like meat, poultry, seafood, eggs, dairy, but also in vegetarian sources as well, like legumes, tofu, nuts, seeds, and even some grains contain small amounts of protein as well. So in terms of, taking branched chain amino acid powders or drinks or other supplements, you really can get this from a good diet, and most people are probably eating enough of this anyway. So yeah, really encourage you, if you are using that supplement, it is not necessary. Magnesium, interesting one. I hear so many reasons why people are using it. Generally, it'll be, sleep, recovery, cramps, because my coach told me to, because my friend told me to, all kinds of things. But there really is no sufficient evidence to date for us to recommend magnesium as a supplement for athletes in terms of any of those things. You can get adequate magnesium from a good balanced diet with good intakes across all the different food groups. And there is no evidence at this stage of benefit of consuming more than you need. So I think if you are someone using magnesium, you probably, potentially could just be wasting your money. And that might be one you can get rid of. Prebiotics. This is a fancy name for fiber. So we find fiber in food too. The great thing about the food is that it comes not with just the fibers, but also all the other wonderful vitamins and minerals and carbohydrates, proteins, fats. It's really nice to eat food. It is far better for our body to eat those whole foods than to just be taking the fibers separately. So again, there really is no good evidence to show that this particular supplement is of particular benefit for athletes at this point in time. If you're taking any vitamins or minerals without medical or dietitian advice, look, some of these might be, a little harmless, like B vitamins, which you just pee out if you take more than you need. But some of them can cause harm. So particularly things like iron and zinc can become toxic if we consume more than our body needs. I think sometimes people take these things willy-nilly without understanding that. And you're putting yourself at risk. So look, if you're thinking about what is right for me, I think you really need to have a chat with someone that has a good understanding of what your nutritional requirements would be, and also your own individual situation. And also just any supplement you don't know why you're taking, or you're unsure about. And I commonly hear this, when we go through, okay, let's look at your supplements. What are you taking? So why are you taking that one? I don't actually know anymore. Like, someone a while ago told me to do it and they said of something, but I just don't know. I don't think that's a great reason. So, you really should understand why you're putting things in your body. If you don't know, then, have a chat with someone that can work through that with you. So look, there's, plenty of other supplements out there, but these are some key ones that I think are, worth knowing about from today. This is Jordan. Jordan also worked with me towards Ultra Trail Australia. And yes, we did a lot of work around building his race plan. He had an incredibly high sweat rate, and, managing his hydration was quite challenging. So we did a lot of work with him to help him to learn how to be able to tolerate the level of hydration he needed to consume for the race. And he, a bit like Jason, was another one that struggled a lot with cramps. And it was really mostly in racing this was occurring for him. We did use some supplements, Jordan, and we use them in quite a novel way. So, there are different supplements out there that can be quite supportive, but, I think with that intricate knowledge that sports dietitians have, we can use, I guess, the information about how they work, and sort of do a little bit of novel work with these supplements in ways that might not be things that you would just come across easily by searching the internet or talking to your friends. I think this supplement did potentially have quite a good benefit for him in terms of reducing his cramp risk. He didn't have any cramps for Ultra Trail Australia. He finished in around 12 hours for his first 100K. He was really, really happy with that. And so I think this was a good example of, using supplements appropriately, testing them, making sure, he knew that they were tolerated and had helped him before. Then go ahead and getting a really good outcome at Ultra Trail Australia. All right, so what have you learned so far? So fuel for the work required, put that petrol in the tank when you need it. Avoid failing to plan, avoid underfueling and excessive focus on sports nutrition products and supplements. Build that pyramid through optimal training, nutrition, hydration, and develop every aspect of your nutrition, hydration for your A race, and then sprinkle with the supplements that work. So at this point, you've got two choices. So you can take what you've learned and try and go on your own, or you can have me guide and support you every step of the way. I know you're here today because you want results and you've tried going on your own and it hasn't worked. And you want your best performance without fatigue, gut issues, cramps, stress, and injury. And you want to say goodbye to not knowing how to feel right. And you want to run further, faster, and push your limits. So today's your day. I'd like to introduce you to the Distance Runners Performance Academy. So this is my program. This is a wonderful program for runners who are working towards goal events to really explore every aspect of that performance pyramid with that really good guidance from an expert in the field and also a runner just like you. So this program is a very in-depth program. It is designed to last for 6 months towards a goal race. It can be sped up or slowed down a little bit depending on what timing your race is. And it really is designed to take you step by step through all those different processes. So as part of the program, we go through your training nutrition. We have meal plans that come with it. You can see a picture of that down there. We do some structured dietary analysis. We've got, a recipe book that goes with it. We've got recovery sessions. Here's your bit around fluid planning. There's me having a chat online with one of my clients, one of my athletes there doing some sweat rate testing. So it really is designed to be a package to teach you all the things you need to know about sports nutrition towards your goal race, but also something that gives you that power to then understand how do you manage your running and your racing for as long as you want to keep doing this stuff. So, a little bit different to coaching where you might have a run coach and they're kind of always there for you, telling you what to do. I will guide you through this process. And then at the end of it, I'll let go of your hand and off you go, you fly away and just have a wonderful running career. So I'm going to talk to you all about the in-depth parts of this program now. But, you're probably thinking, will this really work? You've tried other programs. How is my program different to anyone else's? I'll just do what my friends do. I'll do what my coach says or the internet tells me, or just like Jackie, you'll keep winging it. If me and my clients can do this following my framework, then you can too. So after month one in the program, you can be expecting to be able to really crush all your training sessions with proper fueling. With a good training plan. You'll know how to adapt your nutrition to your different training sessions, and as your training schedule changes, you'll be able to adapt that yourself. And you'll be able to really get a good handle on how to recover properly from every session as well, so you can keep getting gains in performance and not have time lost. By month 3, you'll be able to manage high carb fueling. We will have gone through gut training. You will have practiced many times and know exactly the sorts of foods and drinks that work for you to be able to achieve this as well. You'll understand your hydration requirements so that you can maximize performance and then know how much fluid you might need and how to get it for races. And you'll know how to carb load appropriately so that you can really get that extra benefit in terms of maintaining optimal pace for longer. By month 6, you will have your secret supplement plan. So those sprinkles, we start at this point. You'll learn about different ways to test them and understand safe ways to use them and the right protocols, and then understand if they are actually working for you or not. And you'll also know how to adapt and troubleshoot your nutrition hydration on race day. And really, by the end of this, you're going to be 100% ready to perform at your very, very best with your personalised race plan. So exactly what you get inside the program. So first of all, you get 10 sessions with me. The first session is actually 90 minutes. The subsequent sessions are 1 hour. They are done via Zoom, and during these sessions, you learn every step and build your strategies for your performance pyramid. We reflect on your progress during each session, and we talk through how to overcome roadblocks. And really, these sessions are a key part of you staying accountable, helping to keep you motivated and moving forwards as well. Your customised weekly training meal plan becomes a real backbone of your plan. So this is developed to suit your goals, lifestyle and preferences. There is no point, setting out generic plans if you're really wanting to do this right, because everyone's different. Some people like vegetarian food, some people don't. Some people have medical concerns like celiac disease or allergies that we need to factor in for. Some people love to cook, some people hate it. We've got to manage all of that. And some people have, very different goals in terms of their running. So some people might go, I just want to get through this ultra. I just want to finish my first one. Some people might go, I want to win. So we've got to really structure that program to make sure that it suits exactly what you want to achieve. With your meal plan, you really do have a good understanding of exactly what you should be eating and when. And you also know how to adjust it if things change. It takes the stress out of meal planning and fueling. So a little bit like, the race plans, this can really take that day-to-day stress level quite down as well. And we do adapt this plan as training and life changes as well. So it is a bit of a moving object, and it should be. It should always be changing because your training schedule is always changing, your life is always changing. So we don't, shouldn't be eating the same thing every day. Needs do change. We have in-depth diet analysis as well. So this is really when we start to do a deep dive into, okay, well, we've got the training nutrition plan in place. How are you going with achieving it? So, are you actually achieving what we want in terms of the targets that we're aiming for in your plan? And how is it working for you? And then, are we going to make any adjustments or tweaks as a result of that? Doing this helps you to understand the foods that you're eating and what is in them. And it helps you to understand your own nutrition needs and how to, adapt things and change things yourself and really develop new strategies so you can continue getting closer to your goals. So it's a really big learning curve going through this for a lot of people, and quite enlightening for a lot of people when they start to realise, the values of different foods and how they work for them. We do this as many times as we need to in the program until you're feeling comfortable. And it's something that we can always come back to at any point in the program as well if, things feel like they might have gone off track. All right, then we've got the fun bit of all the little bits of the race plan that we built. With this race plan, we do develop your individualised fueling and fluid replacement plans. So this is an example here of a race plan I've done for an athlete. A picture of me at Surf Coast Century using one of my plans to help me get through that race, and I had a really good day out that race. As part of the plan, we learn how to carbohydrate load. We do some practice sessions of that, and you get to sort of monitor how you're going. And again, we think about how you're going to manage that if you're traveling or with any other sort of logistical concerns. And as part of your race plan, we also look at what supplements are we going to use and how are we going to build them into your plan to make them work as best as possible for you. All right, recovery. So we do have a full session dedicated to recovery. It is a big topic and a really important one, and something I think a lot of people don't do particularly well. So you need to understand that every session requires different recovery strategies. And so this session that we do together helps you to learn how to adapt your recovery for the different training that you're doing. This can help reduce risk of injury, illness, fatigue, and poor performance. As part of this, we also do some assessment around sleep quality. So I use a questionnaire that is validated with polysomnography, which is when they put the electrodes on your head to do sleep studies and understand if you are getting adequate sleep or not. Then we work through that together and look at, well, okay, what might be some of the reasons why sleep might not be on track and what can we do to improve it. We all know, I think now, learning more and more that sleep is such a critical component of performance for athletes. Got your long run evaluation tools. So this is to help you to monitor your nutrition hydration that you do with your sessions. So you can really understand, okay, how much of that am I eating? When did I eat it? How did it work for me? Did I get gut problems? Was I struggling to drink enough? Did I have taste fatigue? How can I adjust it to really, get this to be perfect race plan for the race that I'm working towards? And this gives you the confidence that, I tried all these things, I know how they work for me, and this is going to give me a really good result for my race. Hydration assessment tool. So this is to help you to understand, what are your fluid losses in different conditions, and what drives you to drink. So that might sound a little bit like drinking alcohol, but it means fluid. So we all have different reasons why we drink. Sometimes we're just constantly saying, I need to drink. Other times we might be thirsty. Other times we might have a particular target that we're working towards, and we need to understand what is contributing to our reasoning for drinking. And then, what might be the best strategy for our fluid plan in our racing. Doing this hydration assessment, on multiple occasions, often we'll do, 5, maybe more for a race, really helps you understand how different conditions impact your fluid requirements. And this is really important because if we get it wrong, performance really, really suffers. Particularly dehydration is probably the most common concern, but we can also overdo it and end up with low sodium as a result, which is, quite a serious condition. So yeah, it's really important to understand how much you need to replace so you can avoid loss of performance. Recipe book. So I had lots of fun putting this together with all my favourite recipes. It is designed for runners. All the recipes in there are some of my favourites, a lot that our family eat quite frequently. So there's lots of meal and snack ideas in there, pre-fueling ideas, things for during race and recovery. I've got my secret sports drink and gels recipes in there. A lot of my athletes use them and love the fact that they're spending about 10% of the money that they were on the commercial options before. And you've got nutritional values in there, so you know exactly what you're eating in terms of nutrient content. There are a range of different cuisines and diets catered for in this program as well. And I do like to take inspiration from my athletes. I've got one of my previous athletes is Indian, and I've got a recipe in there from him, which has been great to include. So I really like to, make it very personal. And you get guidance on how to incorporate these recipes into your meal plan as well. Shopping lists. Along with the race plans, the meal plans, shopping lists are really, really great to help take the stress out of the supermarket, so you know exactly what you need to be buying throughout the week to support you in your training. And also get your shopping list for your goal race as well, so you know what you need to be buying in the week, or if you're really early in organising the week before your race. There's nothing worse than the day before the race running around the supermarket going, oh my god, what do I need for tomorrow? And all you want to do is just relax and mentally prepare yourself for the event, but you're just stressing out about what you should have planned well in advance of it. Your tailored race plan, designed personally by me. So yes, this really does take the stress out. It really gets you to understand exactly what to eat from carb loading through the finish line, and be very confident that you know exactly what to do. It's very important for your support crew as well. I often get feedback from support crew saying how pleasurable it was to know how to help their athletes and to help keep them moving through aid stations fast, rather than standing there sort of deer in headlights, oh my god, what do I eat and drink now? And also you do learn about strategies to adapt your plan when things change. We know that in a lot of these races, it can be unpredictable, and so you need to know how to adjust on the fly. Got weekly check-ins. So I'm not just with you through the face-to-face sessions. So, this is designed to give you every opportunity to learn and to get support and motivation. So every week we check in and you get some different questions to reflect on to help you understand how you're going with your progress, and develop new strategies between our catch-up sessions. Have questions answered as they arise, rather than waiting for weeks before we might catch up again. And really just keep progressing towards your goals between those sessions. It is a bit more like coaching as opposed to just your traditional dietetics, where you might go for one session in the clinic and then you might book another one and a few weeks later, and that's kind of it. You don't get any contact between. I really am here with you 100% the whole way to make sure that you can get the absolute best out of yourself. All right, bonus time. So the first one, strategies to manage the heat. You might have seen my blog last week about heat. And I have had a bit of a focus on that the last week myself, doing a bit of practice with heat adaptation, which is quite fun. That is a really important element of being prepared for the heat, but there are lots of other aspects of that as well. So we do have a session available for people that have been here tonight, where we really go deep into all the different strategies that you can use to manage heat and exercise. And this is super relevant for all of us in the Southern Hemisphere at the moment. It is getting really warm. We had a 40-degree day here in Adelaide last week already. And so, you need to know how to cope, because it's likely that you are going to end up with some events that will be quite hot. And this can be any time from, spring through to the end of autumn really now, I think, with the weather that we've got. We talk about supplements as well as part of this. There are some that can be useful and some that may not actually be useful, but they might be in cooler weather. So it's a really, really good topic to understand well, and give you opportunities to then go out and practice them as well. Got your supermarket tour. So this is a fun one where we wander around the supermarket together and have a look at some of the things on the shelves to help you understand how to avoid the marketing hype and really be able to evaluate each product appropriately and understand how to make healthy choices. We also spend time going through the sports nutrition and supplement aisle to try and, start working through some of that marketing that, again, is probably even more of a problem in this particular area, so that you can make, good choices around what you're going to buy and make sure that it is working for you appropriately. An injury and illness prevention class. The biggest thing that limits performance for athletes is missed training time. And generally when this happens, it's because of injury and or illness. So if we can prevent this and or manage it better, you are very likely to have better performance. So respiratory tract infection is the most common illness amongst endurance athletes. And there are a range of nutritional strategies that we can use to help to fight them faster and also potentially reduce the risk of getting them in the first place as well. Also, there are plenty of strategies we can use to help to make sure your body is really resilient and strong, in terms of bone, muscle, tendon, ligaments, and, every little cell in our body really, to reduce risk of injury. And also, what do we do when it happens? Because inevitably, a lot of runners do get injured. It's not always nutrition related. There are other reasons why runners get injured. If we do get injured, we want to be able to recover as quickly as we can so we can get back to training and then give ourselves that really good chance to perform at our very, very best on race day. Bonus 4. So group athlete calls. So we have our one-to-one sessions. We have our weekly check-ins, and we also get together with all the other people in the program to learn about how everyone's going. So this is a really fun call where we get to hear other people's stories about how they've gone with their goals and how they're progressing, and just be really inspired by what the other people are doing in the program. So a lot of athletes are doing similar events, and it's really fun for them to hear about how other people are managing those. And also, this is a good opportunity for you to learn about the mistakes other people make, so you don't have to make them too. It gives you that opportunity to connect with those people as well. Possibly these might be people that you might actually want to meet when you get to the race and spend some time with. And in these sessions, we also learn about bonus nutrition topics, which is by me. And I tailor these to the current athletes that are in the program based on what their particular concerns might be. So, I really enjoy group work. Hopefully you can tell I like presenting. Probably one of the rare people in the world that doesn't get scared of standing up in front of an audience. I think because I love what I do, it makes it really easy to have fun with these sessions. All right, so big question now. What's the investment? So you can see there's a lot in there. It is designed to be a really complete program that is going to see you through for the rest of your running years to come, doing a really, really great job of performing very well. So if I did put everything together individually, you're looking at $8,000. But I'm not going to charge that. I'm not even going to charge you $4,000. The total investment for the program, including all your bonuses, is $2,997. Or you can do a payment plan for $565 per month for the 6 months. For those of you who have private health insurance and live in Australia, you can claim this package as well. So that's a little extra bonus for Australian athletes. So if you're keen to lock in this price and claim your bonuses, all you need to do is schedule an application call with me. Now, I was going to be really clever and put the link in the chat, but I have I'm going to send it to you afterwards. Yes, I had it all set up to go, but now that I'm on the full screen, it's not going to work. So you will get a link in your follow-up email to be able to book a call. All right. So on this call, we're going to discuss your goals, roadblocks, and make sure the program is right for you. I understand the investment that people are making, and I also want to make sure that you are the right type of athlete for this program as well, and that you're going to get a really good result from it. Gives you an opportunity to also ask questions that you might still have about the program. And even if you're not a good fit for the program, you're going to walk away with a game plan and understand what you need to do to level up your performance with evidence-based nutrition strategies. Obviously, because it is such an involved program, I can't see a huge amount of people at one time, so there are limited spaces available. It's first come, first serve, and once those spaces are filled, I will need to close my calendar off. So yes, book your free call now to claim your game plan and lock in the reduced program price and all the bonuses. Thank you very much for being here this evening. I can't wait to meet some of you over the phone, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. All right, good night. Farewell, everyone.